Welcome to the Raising Confident Girls podcast, your guide to raising strong, confident daughters. I'm Melissa Jones, the founder of Girls Positivity Club and a teacher for over 20 years. In a world where girls often feel overwhelmed, anxious, and confused, this podcast is your go-to space. As caregivers, we navigate challenges together. I founded Girls Positivity Club to provide a place where you belong and get the tools to face today's hurdles. Consider this your regular check-in with a trusted friend, offering insights and practical tips for meaningful conversations. I'm here to help you feel confident on this journey of raising a generation of empowered girls. Let's dive in and raise those confident girls together. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Raising Confident Girls. I am so happy to be with you today and to help you through a topic that comes up a lot with parents and caregivers of girls, and that is how to strengthen your daughter's confidence. And last week we talked about strengthening her belief in herself and like how to support her in believing in herself. And today I thought it would be a good idea to go into confidence because I think the two are connected. It really is with your daughter believing that she can do something. It does build her confidence then. So to me, one thing leads to another. The belief is in her self-esteem and her self-worth and her self-love and knowing she can do things that may not be easy all the time and seeing herself make progress in those areas, developing those skills, those strengths, and knowing that she doesn't have to be perfect. She doesn't have to be like anyone else. She's just going to keep going and work through those challenging times because that will build that inner belief that she can do it the more that she keeps going and tells herself she can do it. And then that leads to confidence in a certain area. So confidence can be an overall confidence of being confident in who you are. And I think, though, that has led to people believing that you're either born with it or not. And I don't believe that's true. I believe that confidence is a skill, and I believe that you can learn it and your daughter can learn it. You can develop those skills over time. And it's something that I don't believe you're either born with or you're not. It's kind of like saying, I believe that people are either born good or bad. And I believe in the potential of all people and that all things are possible. And when you think about confidence, it's kind of like, okay, what are certain situations that my daughter feels confident? So for some people like me growing up, I really struggled in my overall confidence. There would be moments where I would feel confident, maybe if I was in a safe place with my parents, meaning I felt safe emotionally. And in doing something, maybe I could hit the ball better at home. Maybe I could make a mistake and I wouldn't be made fun of or anything. It would just be like, it's okay, just try again. Very encouraging environment. But at school, I felt like I would be ridiculed or I would be pointed at like I was different. And it was obvious that I wasn't really that good at sports. And I think it had a lot to do with my confidence and me knowing that the hard work that I had put in ahead of time was going to help me. So I really struggled in my self-belief and in my self-confidence. So that's why it's so important to me today to have that in Girls Positivity Club, to teach girls how. And I would love to teach you today. And, I think about real girls all the time because me thinking about myself as a child, I know that I have my own perspective and, and true or not, it's real to me. And that's really how things seemed to me in my childhood. And, maybe someone from the outside looking in saw things differently in my life, but that's really important for your daughter too, is like to learn how she sees herself and to see what she believes she is confident in, because it can help give you insight into how you can support her in those confident areas and continuing to help her feel good there. And then also developing new areas of confidence. So in camp, I mentioned in the last episode, I just finished 2 weeks of summer camp for Girls Positivity Club. We had 2 amazing weeks together. And this last camp that I just had was all baking. And I call it BU baking because it's both. So anytime girls come to Girls Positivity Club, we're always teaching them about a certain thing that they can do to help themselves on the inside because we're empowering them from the inside out. And also, we do it in a fun way in activities that are engaging for them. So, one thing that I've learned over the years is that they love to cook and they love to bake. And so, I rent a facility where there is an oven and I have these cooking stations and they work in teams and we have discussions about being themselves and uniqueness and how important that is while they're cooking. And it's so incredible to me how their confidence changes throughout the camp in just one short week. It's just amazing to me. So I did have this one girl who, at the last camp, baking was not her favorite thing at all. Like she hated baking. Like she literally said that. That's the best thing about kids. Like they do not hold back. They will tell you exactly how they're feeling. And so because she hated baking, she didn't want to be at the camp really because she was afraid to do it. She didn't know if she'd be good at it. She, just didn't like it. And, we're very accepting there. We're like, come as you are, we accept you the way you are, things like that. And my favorite story is with her because she ended up loving baking. And it was her trying new things. She ended up making things that she never knew she could make. And she worked with girls she never knew she could work with. She was making friends she never knew she would make. And even as simple as her trying pineapple and realizing that she liked pineapple, it built her confidence in knowing that she could try new foods and that nothing bad would happen if she didn't like it. Like just trying it opened her mind and gave her the confidence to know that doing these new experiences, trying these new things in an area that she was wanting to grow in really built her confidence and I think her self-belief and all of those things too. So I love her story because she's like, I can't believe I love this. Like this is I just love it. I didn't know that I could do these things. And so I really saw her build her confidence over the week. And I mentioned in the last episode that I had 2 middle school volunteers. And these girls really did an excellent job of being good role models for the other girls with prepping supplies and really helping the girls through the process of each recipe that we did, each activity we did. And by the end of camp, both of their parents were saying just how much they grew in their confidence in being a leader and being one of the older kids and the big kids of the group and how that impacted them already just in one week. So I think it can be a misconception sometimes that confidence has to take years or it has to take so much work to build someone's confidence. And sometimes that is true. But I also want you to know that confidence can actually switch pretty quickly just by doing an intentional activity in the right environment with the right people, which is what I really love doing is creating those environments for girls and creating those experiences for them so that they can have these moments. And I think about even myself growing up, like I've mentioned lots of times, I was not a great athlete, but I participated in sports. And I remember this one game and I wanted to make a basket so badly in basketball. And I was very nervous during games. I would often pass the ball to the better players. I was still on the team, but I just tended to hold back more so than I did when I was at home shooting baskets with my dad. And for whatever reason, this one game, I decided I was going to shoot my shot. And I was just going to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. And every time I shot the ball, it would swirl around the rim every single time and it would not go in. It would drop and go beside the basket, or it would bounce off the rim, or it would do everything besides go in the basket. And I remember even having confidence that I was trying. And that was a huge shift for me because, like I said, it was not easy for me. And whenever I was around people and I felt like it was like this big spotlight on me whenever I messed up or whatever, but this time it just felt different. I was like, I'm going to just go for it. And the way that my teammates treated me, the way my coaches treated me was so encouraging. They just kept saying, oh, almost, you can do it. It was such a shift for me. Whereas before I felt kind of invisible as a player because I was making so much effort to actually try and not be invisible and try to help my team in a new way. Everyone was rooting for me. Everyone wanted me to win. Everybody wanted it to happen. And the basket sadly never happened in that game, but I still felt so much confidence because of how much I had tried. And that's the point, right? Is we want to encourage our girls to do those things, to try those things, to shoot their shot. And it doesn't mean they have to have any certain outcome. It just means they have to have the confidence to keep trying. So in any of those situations, and sometimes confidence does take time. It takes years. And other times it can happen, like I said, in a shorter amount of time. Like for me, it was that one game. I was like, maybe I can actually do this. And then I started having self-belief too. So those are some things that really came to mind when I was thinking about confidence in the girls. And again, I've mentioned this lots of times, but I'm going to keep mentioning it because it is true for girls. One of the problems with confidence is that self comparison to other girls. They are comparing themselves to, like I did on the team. I would look at the other girls who were maybe it was easier for them. They were more talented, fill in the blank. They looked more successful than me in whatever way. And I know a lot of girls feel that way. It's like you can look for other people doing things better and you're always going to find it. It's that saying, like you get what you look for. So it's like, if you look for that, you're always going to find that. You're always going to find someone who is fill in the blank, better than, prettier than, it's easier than. And that's not the place we want our girls to live. We want our girls to acknowledge that, yes, comparison is normal. It will happen from time to time, but we don't want to live there in comparison world. That is just going to shake your confidence all the time. And it's also going to diminish, your own self-belief in what you're doing. And then that perfectionism. Again, I mentioned that in the last episode. Perfectionism is a confidence killer because if you're always trying to be perfect, you're not going to feel confident in an area. If you think you have to be a certain way, not meeting their own expectations. I had a girl who she was like, I didn't do well on my math. I did terrible on my test. And I was like, okay, well, let's talk about it. I know math is one of your strengths. What was going on? She was like, I think I might have only gotten 100% or like 90% or 94% or something like that. And to her, that was an F. And I was like, okay, what if you focus on the questions you did get right? Even if you got a 92%, what is your grade in the class? And she was like, well, it's like 100%. And I really do a lot of extra credit. I'm like, okay, if you have this, do you really think that one test is going to impact your grade and make it, in her mind, make her bad at math? She's terrible at it all of a sudden. She is going to fail, all these things. Like it's like this big thing in her mind of a spiral of like all the bad things, right? But really it was her perfectionism that was getting in the way. And once we could reframe that, we could think about it in a different way, then she was able to see that actually it wasn't true. And she didn't need to look at those types of things that were always going to shake her confidence because, in fact, she did feel confident in math. It was one of her strength areas. So that's another one. And then social acceptance. So it's fitting in, feeling confident and fitting in, knowing that you do fit in, trying to figure out your friend group and all of those things. That can be an area that girls can really struggle in with confidence, or they can feel really secure in. So what we want to do is support them in any of these areas. So what can you do? Well, like I mentioned before, in previous episodes, leadership is such a great thing to do. It's such a great tool to give your daughter, is to help her have opportunities to find leadership. So if she doesn't want to do leadership opportunities with girls her own age, it could be with younger girls, because younger girls, younger kids, it feels safer to them because they're so much younger that they feel like they can make a mistake and the girls will still think that they're cool, or they'll still think that they're great. Um, and it seems easier for them. In their eyes, when they're with younger kids, it feels easier. So, especially if they're in a good environment where they have someone leading them, like I did, like youth leaders do, they have the guidance and like how to be a good leader, they can have huge positive impact on the younger kids or the kids in that experience, or whoever they're leading. Even if they're leading an adult and teaching them how to do something, there is a sense of pride and a sense of confidence that comes with that. So maybe it's teaching beginners in a certain thing that they're really skilled in. If they're a really good artist, maybe it's teaching beginner art classes at the local library, or maybe it's getting some neighborhood kids together and doing something with them that, teaching them how to do something that they love to do. And a lot of times this can happen very naturally, especially when kids get together. But it could also be a conversation that you have with your daughter if she has an interest in maybe leading an activity. I think you'll be really surprised how much her confidence can grow in leading something. And then positive experiences that align with her interests, like giving her new opportunities to try new things. Like the girl I mentioned earlier, and I have a lot of stories like that for Girls Positivity Club. It's like when they are in new situations and they are in a positive environment and an encouraging environment, it feels so much easier to take risks and to try new things, which then builds their confidence. Like my favorite thing that the girls will say is, I can't believe I did that. Or I can't believe I just made that. Like, this is really good. Or I thought that wasn't going to turn out as good as it did. And it doesn't mean that everything always goes perfectly, but those are the moments that we want to capture and remind them of. Like, remember, you didn't know how that was going to go, and look what you did. Like, look at how you tried that new thing. Like, look at how you tried pineapple, or look at how, you made pizza for the first time by yourself. Like that from a recipe, that is something to be proud of. And little moments like that build and build and build to where it really affects her overall confidence and confidence in a certain area of interest. So those positive experience in those good settings, and that can even be at home, you providing those positive experiences for them too. And then providing that encouragement and support. I cannot say that enough, is you telling them, even though it seems so obvious to you, that you love them unconditionally and that no matter how they do in something, you still love them the same. The more we can say things like that out loud to our girls, that they don't have to be perfect, that you're there to support them, that they can be who they are and you love them just the same, even if you don't always agree with everything that they say or do, that goes a long, long way. There's nothing better than knowing that you're loved no matter what. And it doesn't mean, again, that you have to agree with everything that they say and do. And I'm talking about, as they're growing up, there are going to be those times, but them having that unconditional love and encouragement and support, and you encouraging them of the little steps they make along the way, are really going to add up and compound over time to where that becomes their internal voice of, like I talked about in the last episode, believing in themselves, being their own encourager, their own cheerleader. And your encouraging and supportive voices, if with the parents and the people that are cheering her on, are going to be that internal dialogue that she hears when she has moments of challenge or moments of doubt, or when she's feeling kind of down. And again, acknowledging always, we always say this in Girls Positivity Club, we don't ignore feelings. All feelings are valid. You can feel the feels and think about, what do you need to move through it? So you can stay there however long you need to stay there, but then we want to move through it so that we're not stuck there. And I love the saying, feelings are visitors. Just like when you have company, visitors or company doesn't stay forever. Just like you can't possibly stay in a state of happiness 100% of the time, or 100% of any feeling 100% of the time, acknowledging that you're there to encourage and support her no matter what, and just being that soft place for her to land anytime she needs it is so, so powerful. And that positive self-talk, just modeling that as much as possible. If she's like, I can't, it's too hard, having her replace that with, it's hard, but I'm going to try, or I'm going to keep going, or I know I can do this. This may not be easy, but I can do this. I can keep moving forward. Whatever those phrases are for you and for her, and you can ask her ahead of time, what do you want me to say to you when you say these things? What would help you? And if she's like, I don't know, then you can say, well, I'm going to start with this, and you see how that feels. Or what's something you'll say to yourself? What would you say to a friend? So having that dialogue about like, well, what would you say to a friend if she was feeling this, and that? And that is usually how they can see it differently. They can say, well, especially if you can use the friend's name, because you know they're friends, you say the friend's name, like, what if she was feeling this certain way? What would you say to her? And that can really snap things into a different perspective for her and really help her with her own internal talk for herself. And then celebrating her effort and progress. I am huge on effort and progress because it is so, so easy to only focus on the outcome. And let's be honest, sometimes the outcome to things is way different than what we expect. And even when something doesn't go perfectly, most of the time we learn a lesson that we needed to. Doesn't always feel good, but celebrating the fact that she tried and that she's making progress. I always try and think of it like you're making more progress than you would if you wouldn't have done anything at all. So even trying and failing is better than not doing anything at all. And we always have a saying in our family, one is better than none. One piece of effort is better than no effort at all. And you can use that phrase for anything. One is better than none. One encouragement to yourself is better than no encouragement to yourself. One day of you trying is better than 0 days of you trying. So just helping her reframe that and see it in a way is like, oh, I am making progress, even though it may seem like it's taking forever to get something or to do something. It's still good that you're moving forward. And even if you have to take a step back because something doesn't go well, getting back up and continuing to try is going to make you stronger in your confidence than ever. Because once you get to that goal, whatever your first goal is, it's going to feel that much sweeter because you have had setbacks and you didn't give up and you kept trying and you kept going. So encouraging her and reminding her of that is so, so important. And again, like I'll always say, it's like you want to also give her examples from your life so that she can see that you really can relate to what it is. And even if you can't think of it in the moment, try and think of someone who has, or think about, later, be like, you know what? I know I've been through something. I'm going to think about it for a little bit and I'll come to you when I have my story. That's better than just ignoring it or just brushing over it, right? And then one of my very favorite sayings by one of my mentors, Jamie Kern Lima, is your setbacks are setups for something better. So it's like sometimes your setbacks are for a reason. It's to set you up for something even better. So if you don't make the team, if it doesn't work out the way you expected, a lot of times it's because you're learning a lesson you need to learn. And you're going to feel that much more confident when you keep going, you try something different, and that's going to build your confidence along the way. So there are some things that you can say in any of these things, any of these cases. So I'm just going to go through because I always like to have a practical question that you can ask your daughter in any of these situations that I think could help build her confidence and open up really good dialogue and talking about this. So the first was encourage leadership. So this is what you could say to her. How did you feel in leading the group in blank? So how did it feel when you led the group in the warm-up? How did it feel when you led the group in a recipe? How did it feel? Fill in the blank. And then what did you learn? So leadership doesn't always go perfectly again. And you could say, what did you learn from that? Well, I learned that, I'm definitely going to try this other thing next time. That's better than nothing, right? So just having those conversations, if she wants to encourage herself to be a leader, and that's a goal of hers, is like taking more of a leadership role. And then with the positive new experiences, you could say to her after she tries something or before she tries something, like first you could say, well, how did that go? Like, what did you think about it when she tries something new? If it's something she wants to do and you want to find out what those things are, you could say, what new hobby or activity have you been interested in trying? Is there anything you'd like to try? And it might surprise you. I've had girls who've wanted to crochet. I've had girls who have wanted to start swimming. I've had girls who have wanted to take art lessons, singing lessons, sewing lessons, horseback riding, lacrosse, like any number of things. So it's good to check in with those things. And then you could say, well, how do you think this would help you? What do you think this would do for you? And they'll probably say things like help make new friends, help them grow in, new ways they didn't know, things like that. And then providing that encouragement and support. What could you say to her? You could say, what's something you're proud of today? This could be a check-in. I always talk about bedtime and car rides are great times to check in. And like, what's something you're proud of? And we talked about that in our last camp. Like, what's something you're proud of yourself about? Like, and it was really cool to hear their things they're proud of. It dealt from everything from making new friends to making a new recipe to speaking up for themselves, a number of things. And then, how can I support you? What is something that I can support you in? And, if they're little, you could say, what is something you want help with? What can I help you with? How can I help you in something? And then the positive self-talk, you could say something like, when you have a challenge, what is something that you can say to yourself? So it goes back to that. What would you say to a friend? When you have a challenge, what is your phrase that you would say to yourself? One of my favorites is keep on going. Keep on going, keep on trying. That's something very simple. And she can come up with her own. You've got this. You can do this. Don't stop. Keep believing, whatever that is. And then celebrating the effort and progress, you could say to her, when have you worked on something? When have you worked hard on something? And how did you feel when you made progress, even if it wasn't perfect? So again, you probably are going to have some examples for her of when she worked really hard on something, and she's going to have those too. So that's really, really important. And it's emphasizing like it doesn't have to be perfect when it's something you made progress on. And, you can brainstorm it together. And any of these things, it may not go perfectly the first time, but it is helping her plant that seed of confidence. How do I build my own confidence? How do I believe in myself? Like from the last episode, these are all things that go hand in hand. And it is a skill that you can develop and you can help support her in with building her confidence in a certain area that she is interested in doing. So I think that's so important and such a great, great way for us to support our girls. So please let me know what you think. And what is an area that you have really helped your daughter build her confidence in? Or what is an area that your daughter is really needing some extra support in? I would love to hear from you. Send me a message at Girls Positivity Club on all social media or at girlspositivityclub@gmail.com. And I would love to hear from you. As usual, the best compliment you can give is to send this podcast to another mom or another dad of a girl or an auntie or anyone you think that it would help who has a girl in their life who they support. It would mean the world to me. Please send it to her right now. And I hope that you know that I appreciate you. I'm here for you. And I want you to just know that I believe in you. Keep raising those confident girls. You have got this, and have a great week ahead. Thanks for joining another empowering episode of the Raising Confident Girls podcast. Share today's insights with caregivers and friends, building beautiful relationships with strong girls. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. We're not just a podcast, we're a community. Follow Girls Positivity Club on social media for more empowering content on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. This podcast empowers you, supporting incredible girls. Let's create strong, beautiful relationships with the girls in our lives. I appreciate you listening today. Stay confident, stay connected. Until next time, keep raising those confident girls. You've got this.